Hey guys, it's History Behind the Warrior, and today we're going to be talking about Nightmare from Soul Calibur. The Nightmare is more a title that has been passed down from person to person, instead of it being one singular being. You see, the creation of Nightmare can only happen when someone wields the blade known as Soul Edge, which is the ridiculous and over-the-top sword that you see Nightmare wield. Now what I mean by this is that the blade is in fact supernatural. Having somewhat demonic properties, it has the ability to corrupt its user. So really, if anyone holds the blade for a lengthy amount of time, it will kind of transform them into Nightmare. Now originally, Soul Edge was just a normal weapon with no sort of supernatural properties to it, but when it was bathed in blood from countless wars, it had developed its own form of sentience. A being by the name of Inferno would reside within the blade and would corrupt any user that wielded it, making them commit mass murder in order to fuel the blade's power. Now one day, the blade would be obtained by someone known as Al Ghul, who was seen by many to be the Hero King. Now Al Ghul was able to wield the blade and not be corrupted by its influence, even using it to spread peace across the land. Now though Al Ghul was able to overpower the blade's possessive nature, his son on the other hand was not. Jealous by his father's reputation, he would steal the blade and slowly but surely be corrupted by it, forcing Al Ghul to in fact kill his son. Now after this, the blade was lost to time, but did have a knack for resurfacing in catastrophic points in time. Now whilst the weapon was being passed around, Al Ghul had taken his time to in fact forge a weapon that could counter Soul Edge and be the end of its very existence. Al Ghul enforced his life force into this blade with the hopes that one day this weapon by the name of Soul Calibur could bring an end to Soul Edge. Now around the 16th century, the blade would fall into the hands of the ruthless pirate Cervantes. He would wield the blade for about 20 or so years until he was defeated and seemingly killed by Sofita and Taki, and during this battle a large portion of Soul Edge's power was destroyed. Now Cervantes' body along with Soul Edge would be found by a German swordsman by the name of Siegfried, who had been pursuing the weapon with the hopes that it would let him bring his father back, who he had accidentally murdered. Now when Siegfried picked up Soul Edge, it would convince and brainwash him that if he killed people for it, then the blade would resurrect his father. Now Siegfried, not knowing any better and being overwhelmed by his guilt, would follow through with its orders and slowly but surely lose himself to Soul Edge, which led to him becoming Nightmare. Now Nightmare rounded up a group of followers made up of Astroth, Ivy Valentine, and Aeon, as he wanted to gather a mass amount of souls to restore Soul Edge's power. But during this process, a lot of the followers that he had with him were defeated, so eventually he was confronted by Killick and Shanghua. Now normally Nightmare would be able to hold his own against individuals like this, but he didn't count on the fact that Shanghua in fact wielded Soul Calibur, and when the two clashed blades, Nightmare could feel himself losing control as Soul Edge was getting weakened by Soul Calibur, and in a desperate attempt, Soul Edge would transport itself away from Shanghua, but not before it had stolen Soul Calibur and had imprisoned the blade within itself. Now Soul Edge at this point was extremely weakened, meaning that Siegfried was in fact able to regain control of his body. Guilt-ridden by the things he had done as Nightmare, Siegfried would cast himself out from society so he could find penance in what he had done, but Soul Edge's control over him wasn't quite over. You see, every night that Siegfried had fallen asleep, Soul Edge would take control of his body and have him go on a killing spree in order to fuel the power of the blade. Now 4 years later, Siegfried would once again fully succumb to Soul Edge, donning the dark blue armor of Nightmare. Now although Soul Edge was quite strong at this point, it still was severely weakened from its clash with Soul Calibur, so Nightmare would seek out the broken shards of Soul Edge to infuse it with his blade. Now this journey would eventually lead Nightmare to his old stronghold or Strinesburg, and when he was inside, he came across Raphael Sorel, who was also searching for Soul Edge, so seeing that Nightmare had held the blade, the two would fight, with Nightmare seemingly overpowering him. Now as Nightmare was about to deal the killing blow, Siegfried from inside Nightmare would intervene, and thus a power struggle would begin within Nightmare's mind. Now outside, Raphael would take this opportunity to stab Soul Edge directly in the eye, which severely damaged Nightmare. It in fact forced Soul Calibur and Siegfried out of Nightmare's armor, to where Siegfried would drive Soul Calibur deep into Soul Edge, seemingly destroying it. Now although Soul Edge had somewhat been nullified, the being within Soul Edge, Inferno, had in fact managed to escape alongside Siegfried. Now Inferno was bonded to Nightmare's armor, becoming the second Nightmare as he wanted to hunt down Siegfried to obtain Soul Edge. But in the meantime, Nightmare had created a new Soul Edge and was going to use it until he got his hands on the real deal, which he was able to do. Now Nightmare would take Soul Edge and battle Siegfried, as he had now become the new inheritor of Soul Calibur. So when the two clashed blades, the surrounding area they were in was completely destroyed, and Nightmare himself, along with Soul Edge, was thrown into a warped dimension. He found himself back in his former stronghold and wanted to assert that this was the end of all. So he'd call out to the former shards of the sword and have them all come to him so he could finally complete the blade. Now Nightmare would come face to face with Siegfried once more. The battle was extremely fierce. With a near complete Soul Edge battling Soul Calibur, the battle could go either way, but at the end of the day it all came down to swordsmanship, to which Siegfried had the advantage. He would stab Nightmare and defeat him, and to guarantee that the being wouldn't return, he would have Soul Edge shattered into multiple different pieces and have them scattered across the world, so that something like this could never happen again. Now a decade or so would pass by, and the shards of Soul Edge had been recovered by a sort of cult. Now Soul Edge would obtain a new host called Grafe Dumas and rise to a height of political strength in order to control what's going on in the world. Now this is quite a strange chain 2D Nightmare we're very familiar with, but you see, this was only done so that Soul Edge could obtain more shards for itself and to become a more complete version of Soul Edge. Now eventually Dumas would become the Count of Hungary and would send out his servants like Patroclus to kill these individuals, as they had Soul Edge shards within them. Now although Soul Edge was becoming stronger, the sword was unsatisfied with his host, as it was unable to unleash its true power, and thus would leave him when he was defeated in his Nightmare form by Pyrrha, and this would thus mark Nightmare's last canon appearance in the Soul Calibur series, as Soul Edge would continue existing through Pyrrha, who will at some point get a video of her own. But yeah, that's kind of it for the Nightmare video, guys. Hopefully you found this insightful, as I have wanted to talk about the Soul Calibur series for a very long amount of time. Now allow me to bring up a non-canon version, Night Terror. Now for those of you who are quite unaware of this form, this is basically Nightmare if you were to collect all shards of the Soul Edge and fully be consumed by its power. But yeah, I do hope you guys have enjoyed the video, as it's always refreshing for me to tackle something quite new and different. Now if you guys really enjoyed this and you would like to see more, please share this around and give this video some support. That's a great way of letting me know what you guys want to watch. So if you'd like to see more of this, please leave down in the comments below another character I should talk about from the Soul Calibur series. Plus it's been 5 years since we've actually seen a Soul Calibur game, so it'd actually be nice to talk about the series and who knows, hopefully build up to the next Soul Calibur game. Anyway guys, before this wraps up, if possible, let's try getting this video to about 500 likes. It's a great way of supporting this channel, as YouTube's ad system is broken as hell, so by giving it a thumbs up, it helps out a ton. And if you'd like to go the extra step, we also have a Patreon set up, so if you want to go that extra step, we do have a link for it in the description below. Anyway guys, as always, please comment, like, subscribe, and share this video with everyone you know. Please take care, and I'll see you all next time.